let's pull up this bill. I want to pull this up and read the actual language of the bill so that it's easier to debunk the Democrats' narrative when we can use their own words to prove them wrong. So Proposition 3, in Article 1, Section 28 of Proposition 3, this is what the text reads. It says, every individual has a fundamental right to reproductive freedom, which entails the right to make and effectuate decisions about all matters relating to pregnancy, including but not limited to prenatal care, childbirth, postpartum care, contraception, sterilization, abortion care, miscarriage management, and infertility care. An individual's right to reproductive freedom shall not be denied, burdened, or infringed upon unless justified by a compelling state interest or achieved by the least restrictive means. The state shall not discriminate in the protection or enforcement of this fundamental right. All right, so let's stop right there for a second. First of all, the problem starts on the second word here, every individual. Not every adult, every individual. Individuals include children, minors, anyone under the age of 18. So this Proposition 3 would codify a child's right to obtain an abortion without parental consent, a child's right to sterilization. That means chemical castration. That means the removal of your uterus, a hysterectomy of your ovaries. This is not just Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade was bad. It was evil. This is nothing. Roe v. Wade is nothing compared to this. This is abortion until the moment of birth, paid for by taxpayers, abortion for minors without parental consent, and trans hormones and surgical transitions without the consent of parents. Article 1, Section 28 goes on to say, for the purposes of this section, a state interest is compelling only if it is for the limited purpose of protecting the health of an individual seeking care, consistent with accepted clinical standards of practice and evidence-based medicine, and does not infringe upon that individual's autonomous decision-making. Holy cow. So first of all, accepted clinical standards of practice and evidence-based medicine. What they mean by that, they mean accepted clinical standards of practice. That would be WPATH. WPATH sets the standard of care for transgender or gender nonconforming individuals, other gender diverse individuals, I think is WPATH's actual phrase. They have no age limits, and they suggest if someone identifies as gender nonconforming that they are immediately transed socially, via hormones, and via surgery. So that's the accepted clinical standards of practice. Evidence-based medicine is exactly what we talked about over on Locals, where the medical community uses studies that are methodologically faulty to substantiate their claim that transing gender-disordered youth, adolescents, and even adults is better for their mental health. The studies that they use to substantiate that claim are faulty studies. I did a whole piece on it over at Locals. You can go. There wasn't enough time to put it in this show. You can go and watch that entire thing at lizwheelershow.com/locals. That's what they mean by evidence-based medicine. Evidence-based medicine is problematic because evidence-based medicine means whoever can fund these studies, but the studies methodology can be faulty, and it doesn't matter because they don't have a competitor because evidence-based medicine is based on money. Does not infringe on that individual's autonomous decision-making. So a 16-year-old child who wants to have her healthy breasts removed and her healthy uterus removed, the only compelling interest of the state is to protect the health of the individual seeking care, but not if it infringes upon the 16-year-old's autonomous decision-making. They make no mention of age here. No mention of age. So what does this Proposition 3 in the state of Michigan do? Abortion on demand up until the moment of birth. You are paying for that because you are a taxpayer. Every person in the state of Michigan under Proposition 3 will have a so-called right to hormones, puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgical transing, including children. Where are the mention of parents in this Proposition 3? There is none. No parental consent needed. No mention of a judicial bypass. There's a law. There are laws on the books right now in states that require parental consent for abortions for teenage girls under the age of 18. But if the minor wants to bypass their parents, they can obtain a judicial bypass. A judge can say, okay, I'll sign off on your abortion if your parents don't. No mention of parental consent, no mention of judicial bypass. Why? Because they know this means neither of those things are necessary. Parents are out of the equation. No need for parental consent. If there's no need for parental consent, no need for a judicial bypass. Make no mistake, this applies to children.